Welcome back to another video about my loving parents. In our last video, my parents got married, Mom became an Army wife, and one of her first assignments with Dad was in the Philippines. They lived a few more places after that, then Dad got sent to Germany, and Mom had instructions to follow later. This time she drove from Texas to New York to catch a ship for Europe. And her mother, my grandmother, decided she wanted to ride along. Of course, she invited a few other people along, like her sisters, who invited even more people. According to my mother, it was a road trip from hell. At one point, she had 7 or 8 relatives in her car, hitching a ride to nowhere.
So he went to Germany before I did. I had to follow him over there. So, and that's when I took that wild trip with Mother and Aunt Min and Aunt Grey.
They went with you?
They went as far as Tennessee with me. I hope you don't mind, I asked Min to go with us. I said, what? I said, Mother, I'm driving to New York. I'm not visiting. I've got a certain length of time I've got to be up there. Oh, well, we'll go pick up Grey. And then we'll go across and see Virginia, pick up Virginia. And then we'll go over and stay with Sue Beth. I said, Mother, I can't do that. She says, oh, you'll have time. You'll see. Well, this is what we did. They all had small bladders, Mother and her 2 sisters, but they never coordinated where it was 1 stop. It was 3 stops. And they could smell a gasoline station 10 miles out. We need to stop. Well, we couldn't stop for Aunt Min until she had put on fresh makeup. That's true. Mother up in the front seat and these 2 sitting in the back, trying to outdo each other intellectually. It was hilarious. And then all the stops we made to go to the bathroom. I don't think I ever went to the bathroom. The whole trip.
They weren't staying in the best motels at the time, and for some reason, Mom was paying for everything.
We stayed in a room, there were 3 beds that we were in, and the room next to us was like paper walls. And there was a man over there entertaining 2 ladies of the evening.
Right.
Yeah. And so I had to pretend to be asleep because Mother and Aunt Man wanted to giggle over it. They didn't want me to hear. So when I got up the next morning, I said, Mother, we're leaving. I said, I don't know what Aunt Min's going to do because she can't afford this room. See, I'm paying for everything. So Aunt Min went to Chattanooga to see her old boyfriend. Aunt Grey stayed with Sue Beth and Harold. And Mother and I took off in a snowstorm. And we went up Highway 11 all the way through the Shenandoah Valley in a snowstorm you would not believe.
But they made it to New York and stayed at the Hotel Pennsylvania, which was a little nicer. Then Grandma went home.
And that was the end of that.
Did Grandma get home?
She flew, first class. What else?
Yep, sounds like my grandmother. Mom caught her ship, though. This time it wasn't a broken-down Navy hospital ship.
How did I get to Germany? I went on the U.S. Army ship Rose. And it was run by the Navy, but it was an Army ship, and it was the only nice liner. And I hit it at the right time because I got to stay where full colonels or generals stayed. And I had a roommate, Sarah Rock, and it was her second time over to Germany. And she and I were the only 2 that wound up not getting seasick, believe it or not. But we had bunk beds and we had a private bath, shower. So we were really lucky. We lucked out. And some of those younger women were down on the lower floor, but we were up where we had a porthole. But most of the time, that porthole was covered with water. The ship just pitched constantly. It was a lieutenant commander who was the ship's commander for the group of women. And when we were lined up to get onto that ship, he called out. He says, now if you all would just stay in line like a bunch of cows, we'll get you on. Duh. You don't say that to women. Even in that day and age, you didn't say that to women.
And there you have it. Mom made it to Germany and decided to pick up a few kids while she was there. I was one of them. But that's another story.